So how can you create efficiencies then? So I like to get away from that, oh, technology, that word sometimes is really scary. It doesn't have to be, it's just a tool that can be used to create efficiencies.
Now, panelists. Technology is transforming businesses of all sizes. We can't ignore that. Looking ahead, how do you see tech shaping the future for entrepreneurs, leaders, and working professionals? Holly, why don't we start with you?
Okay, great. Thank you so much. This is so exciting to be here. Love talking about tech, love talking about systems and efficiencies. So to answer that, it's interesting because it's not just the age of technology, right? A lot of us, that's a sexy thing to go into, but it's actually the age of knowledge, and technology is just one thing underneath that whole age that it encompasses. So I think we need to remember that as far as what are we looking at as we enter into that. It's not just tech, because tech can feel overwhelming, it can feel like it's just a tool. It is very inefficient if you don't put some kind of human thought and knowledge into it. So I think if we also look back and say it is the age of knowledge and reasoning, and tech is a tool. And I think that can reduce a lot of overwhelm, and we can also realize what this age is really about. It's about our minds, it's about strategy, and how we can apply that.
Excellent. Now, Gisela, how about you?
Just to piggyback off what Holly said, we do live in an age of information. It's everywhere, and data is everything, but it really doesn't mean anything if we're not able to kind of sort through all of that information using technology to present it in a very meaningful way to help us make very educated decisions about our products and our customers, right? But I do believe that gifted entrepreneurs and leaders are, they're able to understand their teams just as well and their customers' needs just by being very present. But tech is going to give them that edge to help them stand out.
And Ed?
So from my perspective, and these are really great points, I'm the experience guy for Victor One, so everything should focus on experience. So with reference to how this is going to change, I think that consumer behavior is changing all the time. People have service platforms with any type of business, and when they experience something good, they kind of set that expectation across all their service platforms. And so for that matter, we got to start talking about tech today. What are we going to do in our businesses to remain relevant? What are we going to do in our businesses to stand out from our competitors down the street? And it helps to just allow us to maintain that relevance using technology to drive that experience.
Thank you all for your responses. Now, Holly, as an experienced entrepreneur, like many in the room, how do you determine when is the right time to start integrating tech? And what tools would you recommend for solopreneurs and small business owners to streamline operations and save time so they can focus on what truly drives business growth?
That's such a good question. And just as a side note too, actually, I was expecting this kind of question, so I actually put together a checklist in the Hoova app. So definitely go there if you'd like to look at some tech that I recommend for beginning when you're first starting your business, and then tech as you scale your business. And then I give you behind the scenes on my tech too. So, but before we even get there, what's really important is sometimes you don't even need tech yet, right? You really need to look at your systems. So you really need to understand, what am I doing in my business? Because here's the thing, tech can feel very overwhelming, right? As Ed said, there's a lot now. People are expecting the same kind of tech across all platforms. Write down every single main task, and then write all your subtasks underneath that task. So for example, writing grants, that could be a main task. Underneath that, I need to onboard the client. I need to put the document somewhere in a Google Doc. I have to reach out to them. I have to do grant research in a certain way, etc., right? When you look at every single subtask, create an SOP for that subtask. Create an SOP, and the question you want to ask is, can I delegate this subtask? Can I automate it, potentially using some type of tech? Or can I eliminate it and not even do it? Is it even efficient? Right? When you look at those three things, and going back to the knowledge lens on tech first in your business, you want to think of efficiencies, right? So when you are able to do just a simple strategy like I just mentioned, simple, right? But how many people are doing that? Not many people, and then they're caught up in doing it all, especially as an entrepreneur, you're doing every single thing in your business. So if you want to use tech, you might first go, oh my gosh, I've got to get all of it because I'm doing all of these things, but you haven't even really defined how you're doing it, if it's efficient, or even if you need that tech or what kind of tech to get, right? Because it all looks so salesy and glossy, like you need it all. You don't. So do that task first, and do all your subtasks, really look at those items. Can I delegate? Can I automate? And then, or do I need to eliminate? And when you look at automation, ask other people what they're using, right? So that's a way to really understand what you need first, and that you're getting the right kind of tech, if it's even tech, or maybe it's a system, maybe it's hiring someone, the right kind of efficiencies. Remember, tech is just one component that can be help you with your efficiencies.
Now let's take it back, because customer experience is important. That's what drives businesses, but also the mindset of business owners, entrepreneurs, and leaders is also extremely important. So Holly, back to you with a focus on mindset. What steps can small business owners take to confidently adopt and integrate tech tools without feeling overwhelmed by the abundance of options and the research that's typically required?
Yeah, definitely. So do what I had mentioned first. Create your SOPs, do all your subtasks, figure out what you actually need to get tech for, and then after that, talk to other people in your industries that are aligned with it. So I might talk to other service-based providers, not necessarily just grant professionals, but other types of service-based providers, and say, hey, what are you using to solve problem X, right? If you are a product-based business, you would talk to other product-based agencies. I remember when Amber Word was here, I don't know if you guys remember her, here in Guam, and she always had issues with the IP systems, with all the things with getting online orders from off island and all the things, so she had to have like very specific product-based, because she was shipping products off island, right? So I wouldn't have solutions for her because I'm service-based, right, on the other hand. So it's like talk to people in your industry-related areas as well to find out, because you can go down the rabbit hole. You can definitely do demos too. Like a lot of tech has demos, right? 5 days, 7 days, etc. But remember, do your subtasks so you actually have something to demo it through. Otherwise, you're going to burn your trial period and get nothing done, right? So you can definitely try that, but don't go down the rabbit hole too much, y'all. Like it's just going to burn your business time. If you have a virtual assistant or an assistant, you can also have them. You can delegate. Remember, one of the things: delegate, automate, or eliminate. You can delegate the task of actually them have sift through tech for you, and I've done that in my business. Do these two different things, put these problems through it, or put these processes through it, see which one goes out, or give me the pros and cons and all the things, right? So if you understand what the problem is, what we're all talking about here, and then how you can maybe have a process, you can then figure out what is that tech, and then try it. And the thing is there's gonna be newer tech that comes along. Like I know, like, I've used like 3 different techs, and now one tech is an all suite in one place nowadays, and that's okay. Tech is actually pretty friendly because they all want you, they want your business, you're a customer, so they actually do a lot of migration as well. That is pretty good, but sometimes it's like, yeah, I mean, I could get that all in one, but I've got systems here and it's okay. You don't always have to go to the new flashy stuff. If it's working, it's working, and tech will break. All right, so just gonna tell you, it's gonna break. You gotta just adopt the mentality and the mindset of being like, it's not always gonna be perfect. I have to look it over. Maybe a human error, maybe a tech error, because we changed this SOP and we forgot to change the tech on the backside. Like, it'll show you, but the thing is, people, and you all know, like, we're pretty, like, at least in this day and age, we're pretty nice about it still. How many emails have I sent out? Oh my gosh, I said, oops, that broke, sorry, here's the right link. And you always get emails back from people going, haha, thanks Holly, no problem. Like, you know what I mean? It's gonna break, it's gonna do its thing, and then it's gonna show you where you're lapsed in your SOP.
With technology rapidly transforming industries and reshaping how businesses operate, what advice would you give regarding the mindset or approach that is most critical for entrepreneurs, working professionals, and business leaders when integrating new technology? Holly, let's start with you for the entrepreneurial perspective, Gisela with the working professionals, and Ed with advice for business leaders.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Such a good question. And I think when looking at it from the lens of women as well, we're at a women's conference, right? So women business owners, you're in business for many different reasons. And we talked a little bit about that why, right? That kind of like where you start with. We forget about that sometimes as we as we go through. As I mentioned, as a business owner, especially when you're first starting out, you are wearing all of the hats. You are in your business, and you are essentially trading your time for money, right? Because that's how you're getting paid primarily. But there's a lot of things that you're doing outside of doing the actual service work or selling actual products that are taking your time that are not being paid. Your time is not being captured yet when you first start out, right? So your time is precious. Your time is precious. You probably opened a business maybe to break away from a toxic work environment, potentially because you have young kids, you need more time and flexibility from you. Got to pick them up at that 3:30 line that takes a half an hour to get through. Let's be real. Then they have ballet after school and soccer and all the things, and you want to be there, right? Maybe you're taking care of an older parent or something else, or you're wanting to do a hobby in your work in your life because you're like, that's important to me, right? Things are more important than just work. But how can I scale a business? One of the things is buying back your time, because once again, you start out trading your time for money. So how can you create efficiencies then? So I like to get away from that, technology, that word sometimes is really scary. It doesn't have to be, it's just a tool that can be used to create efficiencies. So if you approach it from that lens, because you know when you're more efficient, guess what happens? You can then start trading your dollars for time. It changes. That's when you hit the scaling point of your business, right? But before you get there, you've got to solve that problem, right? Because that will be a problem, is you have a limited time. So how can you make everything more efficient so you can still get to that line at 3:30 in the afternoon, right? And not get in an accident along the way, and still run your business and be healthy. So think of technology as just like leveraging help. Leveraging an assistant to help you do it that might be way more inexpensive than hiring someone to do that. Might be a $15 a month app that can streamline customer service replies like you're talking about, or something else in your business, right? Maybe sending out invoices, because you always forget to do that, and then you get caught up in the money trauma and all the things. Automate that so you don't even have to think about it. Create more efficiencies and buy back your time. As a woman, you are owed that, and as we heard this morning, we need to step in more places of leadership. We need to be running, businesses, y'all, I'm heavy on that wheel. I think even people who are in corporate, side hustle. Like, you want to have something you can lean on that is yours, that is real freedom, but you're not going to be able to get there unless you buy back your time. So use tech to do that. Thank you.
Now, another question is, how can employees be prepared and trained to adapt to new technologies and innovations in their roles? Holly, how about you take this one?
Okay, so as an entrepreneur, I'll tell you what. So employees, here's the thing. Some of your jobs are gonna disappear from tech. I'm gonna be real with you all right now. They are. But will you disappear? Not if you're proactive, not if you're vulnerable, not if you're doing things like, how can I get an ROI for this job? Like, even the consultants I hire, like we keep a really streamlined team. I don't hire employees, like I hire consultants, but even for them, it's what is the scope of work, right? So you, as you come in, what is your job description? You might not have seen that for a while, but if you go back to your job description, I guarantee you are doing things on there that aren't even on there, and you're not doing things on there that you should be doing, because you are doing all the little bits and pieces, and it's very potentially ineffective of parts of what you're doing, right? So instead of trying to be loyal, thinking I'm just gonna go through the grind and show them how I can keep doing all this inefficient task, no, you gotta stop that. You gotta stop it. What you wanna do is step up and go, if I looked at all the tasks I do, so first track your time. Track your time, y'all, right? Track your time and then say 1 to 3. Every single task I'm doing, is it bringing an ROI for the company? Is it bringing any impact, right? That would be a number 3. 2 is an 1 is a no. Stop doing the 1s, start figuring out how to delegate or automate the 2s, right? And then when you can bring that to your boss, and you can say, look at how I'm developing more efficiencies, maybe tech is one of those things, right, that you're pulling in, and being more like what I was just saying, right? That's how you are going to evolve your role, because your role may disappear, right? That certain, like, grant writer, we can even say, ooh, Holly, grant writer, your job's getting taken by AI. No, because we still need a grant strategist, right, to think through that. So I tell all the people in my program, stop calling yourself a grant writer, start calling yourself a grant strategist. Look at how I just changed the role. So you can still keep a job, but it may evolve, but if you are just trying to stay in the grind and check all the boxes and feel like that's what loyalty is, I'm sorry, at the end of the day, I don't see that working out long term for you, just because a business has to business. And that's, they have to look at those types of things. So don't mean to bring you down, but that's my advice to y'all, is step up, see how you can become more efficient, and create more joy in your life and in your job too by doing that, right? So can I lend to that question too a little bit? Okay, so the other thing to think of too is we're in a geographically isolated area relative to the rest of the world, right? So, or to other places, and how do we reach out and export? So it's not always leaving island, right? So for me, looking at my business, it was starting a podcast in 2017. Something as simple as that, using technology. What that has allowed me to do is not have to travel to other countries and take time and all the things, right? And to be able to do that very inexpensively, right? With your computer and your internet connection, to be able to connect and grow a business across the waters, right, to many different countries. And so you can think about how you can still be here in Guam, right? You can still be here and grow a business. So it's not just even keeping your job here, but how can you grow one? What about your job for you that you can rely on as well? So you can really think about growing and exporting your knowledge once again while being able to be here, which is wonderful, right? So I've been able to raise my daughter here in Guam, and it's been a wonderful experience to be a part of the community, but to be able to reach literally hundreds of thousands of people around the world from here. I just checked last night, and we have over, our podcast has been downloaded over 600,000 times, over 500,000 times, which is more than the population here, right? So it just shows you the reach and the impact that you can have. So you don't necessarily have to think, oh, I have to go somewhere else if I cannot find a job here. You have knowledge, just have a skill, and you can export that. And there's ways to do it, and tech is very inexpensive to help you do that. So sorry, I just wanted to add that because I feel passionate about it.
Can you discuss your experience with implementing tech? Maybe it didn't go the way that you planned, and what lessons you've learned from that experience?
Oh man, every week. Like I'm looking at things in our team meeting. I think it's, okay, so I'll give you an example, kind of a little outside the box on that, but and I'm talking about, let's talk about real life again. All right, here we go. So I have two team members, or I had two team members. One team member, so we just talked about my podcast, he did all the show notes. The other team member, she did the graphics, audio, put it on the website, all that, right? Well, then I found Cast Magic, all right? So Cast Magic is beautiful. I paid $69 for a lifetime, and I basically can upload an audio into there. It'll give me all the show notes, it'll give me quotables, it'll give me titles, it'll give me everything in like a few seconds. I can dig through things, and I prefer it. You might be like, what about ChatGPT, Holly? Don't you know that? I do, but it's public, and I don't like that, right? So this software is private. I like that, because this is my information, right? And it gives me it's an exact thing for that thing. So a lot of you might be asking about ChatGPT, and there might be some things about that. I do like to use tech-specific AI things for what I need the problem to solve, not just a general one that's public, right? So a side note on that. But what happened is, guess what, y'all? That job, that guy, he's not with me anymore. Sorry, your job's gone, because now I can have just one girl actually be able to integrate everything, and I taught her how to use the tech, so now I've expanded her role, right? And I have one person, and that makes it more efficient for my company. And he was probably just using AI anyways, I just didn't know, right? And now he's fine, he's got other customers, don't worry about him. Don't worry about him. So she's good though, she's got more, now she's making more money, she can do all one thing. So we've been able to use tech for that purpose. But when talking about, so just kind of looking at how does it take jobs, how does this all move around, because I know that's on a lot of people's minds, I'm just showing you from a very small business the decisions we need to make when we see something solves a scope of work, right? It's not just about cutting people out either, right? But it's about, okay, now I can fill this person's role out. They can have more responsibility. I can pay them more. That's great. I can take this from that, right? But as far as tech breaking, we look at things a lot. It seems like a lot, especially as we've expanded. We have 2 main programs now. We just implemented a lot of different curriculums. We've implemented another dashboard. We love Airtable, so fantastic. But start with Excel, y'all. Start with Excel. Don't go to the fancy stuff first. And then, but what we look at is, okay, why did that email not go out? Just something that happened the other day. We do renewals, right, in our program. So we have an automation of 30 days of an email sequence that will go up that will tell people, hey, you're almost at your renewal. This is why you should renew, all of the things on the back end. Well, the actual date for people coming in did not match in ConvertKit, the emails that we use, that date. So people got offboarded early, even though it wasn't according to their start date in Airtable, but in ConvertKit, it was telling a different sequence. So they were getting mad. Hey, I got offboarded early. And we had to go back and say, where is it? What's happening, right? That took us a minute to figure out. It did. Do I think that all tech has failed? No, but you have to troubleshoot tech, especially when you start changing things, and that's just an example, that's one little example. We do a lot of troubleshooting because we are a small and nimble company that moves quickly and does things, right? So we have to make sure sometimes well, it's not here, well, where is it, right? So that is something to look at, and just an example of how tech can break. Sometimes it's just like a human thing, and sometimes it is just like it breaks, right? Oh, it shut down, there's maintenance, all of that. But it's not to say you can't use it. All we did is send out an email, sorry about that, here, we're extending your use to access the course for a few more days so you have more time. No problem, right? Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Holly, yeah.